What happens when a global icon revisits her roots and discovers an old friend who once saved her from giving up on her dreams? For Taylor Swift, this visit to her hometown of Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, would turn out to be far more than a trip down memory lane. In a twist no one could have predicted, Taylor stumbled upon Mr. Carter, the owner of a small, struggling music shop who had given her her first guitar lesson when she was just 12 years old, and learned that the man who had ignited her passion for music was now facing the loss of everything he had built. What Taylor did next would not only change Mr. Carter's life, but also remind the world of the power of gratitude and paying it forward. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when Taylor's car pulled up to the corner of a quiet street in Wyomissing. At 33, Taylor wasn't the same shy, curly-haired girl who had spent hours strumming her first guitar in her bedroom, but the memories of her early days came flooding back as she stared at the faded sign above the shop. Carter's Music Haven. Her journey, both as an artist and as a person, had truly begun here more than 20 years ago. She parked the car, sat quietly for a moment, and whispered to herself, "Sometimes you need to go back to the beginning to remember why you started." With that, she stepped out of the car, pulling her coat tighter around her. She wasn't the global superstar the world had come to know. She was just Taylor, the girl who had once been too nervous to sing in front of anyone but Mr. Carter. The shop looked smaller than she remembered, its windows dusty and its paint peeling. A handwritten sign taped to the door read, "Closing sale, everything must go." Taylor's heart sank as she pushed the door open, the familiar jingle of the bell echoing through the empty store. Behind the counter stood an elderly man, his glasses perched on the edge of his nose as he sorted through a pile of sheet music. His hair was gray now, and his hands trembled slightly, but his eyes still sparkled with the same kindness Taylor remembered. "Excuse me," Taylor called out softly. The man looked up, squinting a bit before responding. "Sorry, we're closing for good next week," he said, his voice warm but tinged with sadness. "But if there's something you're looking for, I'm sure we can find it." "I'm just visiting," Taylor replied, stepping closer. "I used to come here a long time ago." The man tilted his head, studying her face. Then recognition dawned. "Taylor Swift. Is that really you?" Taylor grinned. "It's me, Mr. Carter. Not so little anymore." The two exchanged an embrace, and for a moment, the weight of the world seemed to lift from Mr. Carter's shoulders. "I can't believe you're here," he said, his voice cracking. "I've followed your career, you know. Every album, every award. I always knew you'd make it." Taylor's eyes filled with tears. "I wouldn't have made it without you. You gave me my first guitar lesson. You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself." As they talked, Taylor learned that Mr. Carter's shop was struggling. Online retailers and big box stores had drained his business, and he was facing foreclosure. His wife had passed away a few years ago, and he had no one to help him keep the shop afloat. Without hesitation, Taylor made a decision. She bought the shop not to take it over, but to give it back to him. She paid off his debts, renovated the space, and even helped him set up an online store to reach a wider audience. But she didn't stop there. She turned Carter's Music Haven into a nonprofit music school, offering free lessons and instruments to kids who couldn't afford them. So, what can we learn from Taylor's story? It's simple, really. Kindness isn't just a word, it's an action. It's about seeing someone who's struggling and saying, "I've got you." It's about going back to where it all began and saying, "Thank you." It's about believing in someone when they don't believe in themselves. Taylor didn't just write a check or walk away. She saw Mr. Carter. She remembered what he did for her, and she acted. She didn't just change his life. She gave him his dream back. And in doing that, she reminded all of us that no matter how big we get, no matter how far we go, we should never forget the people who helped us along the way. So tonight, I want you to think about this. Who's your Mr. Carter? Who believed in you when no one else did? And what can you do to pay that kindness forward? Because here's the truth. Kindness doesn't just change one life, it changes every life it touches. So go out there, be kind, be brave, and never, ever forget where you started. Because the world doesn't just need your talent, it needs your heart.